Operators can help ensure continuous safe operation of heavy equipment by checking fluid levels, looking for fluid leakage, inspecting for damage, and testing machine functions before each working shift. In this video, you will see a walk-around inspection of a WA600-1 LC log loader. It will show the fluid level checkpoints, wear areas, and the operational checks that should be done before each working shift. Komatsu Dresser Company has placed decals at various points on the machine to inform personnel about checkpoints and to warn of dangerous situations. An automatic grease system and a fire suppression system have been installed on machines built for Weyco Bay City Sort Yard. A small door has been installed on the engine compartment door on machines built for Weyco Bay City. The dipstick has standard markings for high and low level and should be checked with the engine shut down. Ladder steps and handholds are provided to allow the operator to safely climb up to check the coolant level. The radiator cap will normally have pressure against it. Open the cap by turning it counterclockwise until the pressure starts to vent. Remove the cap only after all the pressure is gone. The coolant level should be visible in the strainer. Replace the cap by turning it clockwise till snug. After replacing the radiator cap, carefully climb down using the handholds and steps. Inspect the right rear tire for slices, punctures, and anything stuck in the circumference or the sidewalls. A sight glass is located on the side of the hydraulic oil reservoir. The level should be checked with the clamps closed and the forks resting on the ground level with the machine. The hydraulic system is designed to build up air pressure in the tank. Open the cap slightly and let the air pressure vent completely before removing the cap to add oil. Be sure to reinstall the cap and tighten it snugly when finished. Check the steering cylinder for leakage at the rod packing or damaged chrome on the rod. Also check for leaking grease or hydraulic lines. Now inspect the right front tire for slices or punctures. Examine the right side hoist cylinder for leakage at the rod packing. Check the right side clamp cylinder, the hydraulic hoses, and the grease lines for leakage. Check the sides of the fork and clamp for cracks. Check the fork and clamp tips for wear. Because of the variations in distribution of weight when loading logs, the forks are subject to cracking. Inspect the corners and gussets carefully to find any cracks so they can be fixed before they become major breaks. Inspect the left front of the machine, checking the left clamp cylinder, the hoses and grease lines, the tilt cylinder, and the left hoist cylinder for leakage or damage. After inspecting the left front tire for punctures or slices, check the left side steering cylinder for damage and leakage. Also check for leaking grease lines or hydraulic hoses. The transmission oil level dipstick is under the transmission fill cap. The level can be checked with the engine off and the oil cold, or with the engine running and the oil warm. After checking the transmission level, reinstall the cap and tighten it snugly. Drain the condensation from the air system by pulling the rings away from the drain valve. The brake oil tank has a sight glass under the left side ladder. Do not operate the machine if no oil shows in the glass. Finally, inspect the left rear tire. Many operators also like to check under the machine looking for hoses or wiring hanging down. Before entering the cab for startup, check the air filter restriction indicator. When the air filter is plugged, the indicator will show red. After taking care of the filter, push the button on top of the indicator to reset it. Check the reservoir for the automatic grease system to be sure it has enough grease to last the entire shift. Now with the walk-around checks complete, enter the cab for startup. Before turning the key to the run position, be sure the transmission and the implements are in neutral and the parking brake is set. When the key is turned to the run position, the monitor alarm will sound for about a second. All the monitor panel functions will light up for about 3 seconds and then go out. After starting the engine oil pressure alarm and the alternator alarm may sound and show on the panel. They should go out in a few seconds. The engine coolant temperature gauge, transmission temperature gauge, air pressure gauge, and the fuel tank level gauge will remain on. The air pressure alarm will sound and display until the pressure is up to at least 60 psi, at which point it will stop. Let the engine warm up for at least 5 minutes. The operator should buckle his seatbelt before performing the operational checks. Pick the implements up and move each through their full range of motion to be sure all are working properly. Release the parking brake and start the machine moving slowly. Step on the service brake to be sure it is applying properly. Finally, test the steering by turning the wheel from lock to lock. To review, the fluids have been checked and filled to the proper levels. Any damage has been found and repaired. The engine has been warmed up. Finally, the brakes, steering, and the implements have all been operationally tested. The machine is now ready to be operated safely.